Welcome back to Invictus Forum. Comment on the use of symbolism to highlight themes and bring out character traits. Symbols can be settings, they can be characters, they can be actions, and they can even be objects. The palace symbolizes cultural conflict, as the palace is westernized instead of being traditional. It also symbolizes love because of the great compassion and care that Angela gives to her husband. She's worried about his nightmares. She also wants him to listen to his subject once in a while to avoid conflicts. The fawn also refuses to take a second wife because he loves Angela. The palace also symbolizes conflict because Sheboyo comes to visit the fawn regularly to remind him of his negligence of royal duties, and the fawn sends his thugs to beat him mercilessly. It also symbolizes corruption, as the fawn bribes kingmakers in order for Fawn Joseph to be enthroned as the fawn of the fawndom. In the same light, the fawn decides to bribe the women who have come to ask him to send away the cattle rearers instead of taking care of the women's problem, because part of the cattle that has destroyed women's crops belongs to him. The women decide to take the oath of sealed lips, which symbolizes rebellion. They have decided to starve their husbands of food and sex in order to put pressure on them, to also put pressure on the fawn so that he can perform the sacrifice to the lake god. Their action also highlights conflict. Father Leo symbolizes hypocrisy because he uses the fawn to manipulate him to get what he wants. It also highlights corruption, as he uses his money to corrupt the kingmakers in order to have Fawn Joseph put on the throne. Sheboyo hands his staff to the young boy at the end of the play, symbolizing tradition and the change from one generation to another. In Across the Mongolo, Senkiem symbolizes torture because this is the place where Ngwe is beaten, tortured at the balançoire, refused food and water, and detained because he is innocently arrested for being one of the leaders of the strike that takes place on campus. It also symbolizes oppression, violence, and man's inhumanity. The University of Besadi symbolizes love, as Ngwe and Shirila's romance takes place on the campus. Corruption, as the workers at the scholarity receive bribe from students and treat their documents at night. Neglect, the whole campus is covered in dirt, grass, and papers everywhere, and above all, it symbolizes disorder. Babajoro symbolizes dictatorship, terror, violence, and man's inhumanity. He kills his citizens like one kills flies on a worm. People mention his name only in whispers. Some people are made to disappear, and they live in total fear because he rules them by terror. Ngolefek decides to take care of Ngwe's registration when Ngwe's money is stolen on the train on their way to Besade. And he does so. In addition, he keeps Ngwe in his room, and they also feed on his scholarship money at the resto, highlighting love and generosity. Teacher Marewe hands some money to Menyinka. Don't forget that Teacher Marewe had been raised by Menyinka after the death of his mother as if he were her own child, highlighting love and generosity. At all the same time, it also highlights gratitude. In a walk in the night, the apartment building in District 6 symbolizes misery, as Lorenzo lives in a one-room apartment with his 5 children, wife, and the baby in the stomach. And we are made to understand that he finds difficulty in feeding his family. This is the reason why he wants his wife to abort the baby in her stomach, because it will bring financial constraint to the family. It also symbolizes segregation, as District 6 is found in the ghetto. Constable Rat symbolizes brutality and segregation of the apartheid mentality. He hits chips on his jaw for making a joke, and he also collects bribe from him. In addition, he is very racist, as he shoots Willie Boy and refuses him to be helped by calling an ambulance and allows him to bleed to death while he engages in a fruitless conversation, highlighting man's inhumanity. Willie Boy is shot out and allowed to bleed to death in the police van by Constable Rat, highlighting man's inhumanity. Chips hands money to Constable Rat when he visits the gambling joint, symbolizing bribery. In the cask of Amontillado, the Montresor Palazzo and the catacomb symbolize wealth and man's inhumanity. The house is a well-furnished house with so many servants, highlighting wealth and authority. And man's inhumanity is the fact that the house has a catacomb where the Montresor family kill and allow their victims to rot like animals. In the same line, Montresor's actions towards Fortunato highlights hypocrisy. He pretends to be happy when he sees him, whereas he bears a grudge and wants to carry out revenge. He also uses wine tasting to lure him to come to his palazzo so that he can carry out his revenge. At the same time, he does not want the trivial insult to go unpunished, and so decides to bury his friend alive, highlighting man's inhumanity and revenge. Montresor shares a bottle of wine with Fortunato, pretending that it is for friendship, whereas he wants to render him drunk and powerless, highlighting hypocrisy. When this is done, he buries him alive, highlighting man's inhumanity to man. In Madame Bovary, Mrs. Bovary's actions symbolize love. She does all in her power to put her son in a medical institution and keep him there until he graduates. It also symbolizes materialism, as she contracts a marriage for her son, and the old Heloise based on material consideration. Emma is married, yet she entertains extramarital relationship with other men. She falls in love with Leon, and later on with Rodolphe, and then she starts sleeping with men of influence because she wants money to repay her debts. Charles believes that his wife has been faithful to him all the time, but she writes a suicidal note in which she confesses of her infidelity all through their marriage. Nevertheless, we are made to understand that Charles forgives his wife of her infidelity, but he later dies of high heartbreak, highlighting love. Thank you for having listened to us. Go to Invictus Forum and find out other subjects. Those who are offering literature, you can go to the various texts and find out the notes that have been left there, especially for the text you have not understood well. The same can be done for English language. Thank you very much for listening.